Hello, good morning, and happy Wednesday to all of you watching out there in social media land. Welcome to another episode of Unzipped with Sherry, with yours truly, Sherry. Hope you guys all had an amazing week. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Marcie. I'm going to bring her on in a second. She has an incredible story. She had also had gastric sleeve a couple years ago, and she was one of the people that fell into a bad habit of transfer addiction, which we don't realize how often this happens amongst the community, and people are just not talking enough of it about. But we're going to talk to Marcie. We're going to hear all about her story and this is an amazing NSV that she accomplished, which I just found out about. So I can't wait for her to share it with you. So on that note, Marcie, I hope you're ready because we're about to get unzipped. We all have a story on how we got here, right? So for me, I used to be over 350 pounds until one day I made the single decision that I wanted change. Weight loss surgery has saved my life, and now I am here for you. I want to hear your story. You know, the one that happened during that before and after picture. It's time to unzip. What's your story? Hello, beautiful. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. I am so excited. When I talked to you the first time, I just loved your energy and your spirit and everything about you. So I've been looking so forward to this episode. So first and foremost, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So I know that biggest common problem that always happens is we always run out of time and we don't get through everything. So I want people to know as much about Marcie as possible before the end of this hour. So why don't you give us a little backstory on what life was like for you before you had the surgery?
Okay. Well, when I was a little girl, there was molestation happening. And I think, I know that's when my bad eating habits started. Since my childhood, I've probably lost the same 70 pounds and gained back the same 70 pounds 10 plus times, at least. You know, every diet imaginable I have done.
Weight Watchers, South Beach, everything.
Atkins, Fen, Beach.
Wait, you did Fen too?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So a friend of mine who was on the show a couple weeks ago just did a report on Fen, and I haven't talked to him to see what his findings were, but a lot of people don't know what Fen was. And maybe it's because they're younger, but it was huge in the 90s. I was like 13 when I took it. Yeah. I lost weight. And then they're like, people are dying. You can't take it anymore. We're banning it. How long were you on
heart attacks?
Yeah.
Me and my mom were on it for, gosh, I want to say like a year until everything came out like, oh my God, it's bad for you. People are having heart attacks and yeah.
So did you have to go and get like the EKGs and the testing?
I did.
Yeah, that was me too.
Yeah. So, you know, you name it, I tried it.
Right. Continue on.
Yeah. So, up until, 2017, I went back and forth. I was on Weight Watchers countless times, lost the weight, came back, lost the weight, came back. I mean, everything. I did all these diets without the mental ability to find out the cause of why I'm addicted to food.
100%.
Yeah, it's I'm going to say 98% mental why I gained so much weight. That's what it is. It's all mental, and my past hurts, and it's all up here.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because I really feel it's just not talked about enough. How many of us have done all of these yo-yo diets, and then what? For me, at least, you get to a point where you stall, and you're like, "Well, what's the point anymore?" And then you go back to the old habits, or you start feeling good, but then something stressful happens at work or at home or in your life, and these triggers are going to trigger the same emotional eating responses. So it doesn't matter how many times we're doing Weight Watchers and South Beach and Fen and all of these diets. Like you said, you need to find what was the root that's causing it. Because if you're not going to fix that root and pull that weed from the soil, you're going to keep having the same issues. And how often, I don't know how many people you know in the bariatric community, but how many people have had a regain after having this surgery?
I have. I regained 30 pounds. I lost 100 and regained 30 as soon as COVID happened. I kind of went into a spiral and with my eating habits, but
Mhm.
it's that's why they call it emotional eating. I mean, I ate when I was happy. I ate when I was sad. I ate when I celebrated. I ate when, there was a disaster.
Mhm.
Anything emotional. I, you know.
And like they joke around like when you're in college and they call it the freshman 15 because you're on your own and like you're eating like there's no parent saying no, you have to eat your vegetables, and you kind of go haywire. And I feel like there's become like a COVID 15 or a COVID 20 or a COVID 30
Yeah.
because we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything. And I remember when the first week of being home and I couldn't go anywhere, I stopped counting after like 10 or 15 times. I kept walking into the kitchen thinking food was gonna, because it was boredom.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I went out and got a part-time job bagging groceries and running a register because I could not be home. But I was still not immune to it. You still are snacking more because there was nothing else to do. So I totally get that.
Right.
So you decided to have the surgery in 2017.
I did. My mom had multiple heart attacks. My whole entire family is obese, like morbidly obese. My grandmother died early from obesity and heart troubles. My mom started having heart attacks. And I mean, to be honest, like my true wake up call was I couldn't reach around to wipe myself.
Yeah.
Like my arms were so big and my body was so big, I couldn't even reach around. And that's when I was like, holy crap, man, I got to do something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my ultimate decision period.
That was like your straw to break the camel's back kind
Yeah.
of moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then from the time that you decided to have the surgery to the time that you actually had the procedure done, about how much time was there?
Well, I was thinking about it for a few years. Like
Okay.
a few years prior, I went to the same surgeon and it was going to cost me so much money out of my pocket. I decided that I didn't want to take that money away from my family because I mean we were struggling. So I just decided not to. But between that and me having the surgery, I want to say it was a 6-month period. I had
Okay.
to um, I had to go see a psychiatrist and get cleared. I had to see a nutritionist. Um, all the blood work, the bone density tests, everything, the sleep apnea tests, everything that was involved before I could get approved for surgery. I did that, and it was a 6-month time, and my family was against it. Like I didn't have anybody really supporting me in my decision because all they heard was, people died from it and it doesn't work, and so, but
Do
I
you
did it
think
anyway.
do you think their negativity about it was more because of genuine concern, or do you think because if you had a history of obesity in your family, do you think that there might have been like a concern of jealousy, or that you would change, or that you would be different?
Well, with my mother, I was surprised that she wasn't supportive because, I mean, this ultimately changed my life. I didn't know at the time,
Right.
for the greater and for the worse, but I thought she would be the support me, and she was completely against it because she had friends that had the what's the other one? Bypass.
Oh, bypass. Yeah,
They
yeah.
had the bypass, but they turned into extreme alcoholics and they killed themselves. I mean, they literally died from alcoholism. Um, so she was highly against it, and my husband, for with his own insecurities, and I hope he never sees this, but he didn't want me having it because he
But
liked me a big girl.
okay, and I hear that that's very common in a lot of relationships too. Is they're almost afraid of their partner losing weight because either A, they're afraid that they're going to lose the attraction, or B, you're going to get so much potential more attention that it's going to
Mhm.
cause jealousy and insecurities.
Exactly.
So, question for you. So, not being able to have the support that you would have liked, like you're not really having a cheerleader in your corner getting you like ready for this thing. What was like the day before surgery like? Because all you're being told is these negative horror stories about what could happen. What kind of thoughts go through your head like right before you do this?
Well, I got a book and I wrote basically my will, all my bank accounts, all my statements, all my passwords, what I wanted to tell my kids, what I wanted to tell my husband in case something happened to me and I didn't make it through surgery. So basically, that was going through my head, just making it through the surgery.
That's so
But
funny. I
yeah,
was
but my husband took me to the surgery. I mean, he eventually came around. He knew how important it was to me. And I convinced him that, I mean, it's going to happen whether you're okay with it or not. And he took me to the surgery and he was there every step of the way. And so it was good.
I love that. Yeah, I've talked to people that the morning of surgery they're doing happy dances and they're so excited, and I'm like, that was totally not my mindset at all. I've never done surgery before. I've never done anything this crazy. I was the same as you. My husband was taking a shower. I made a video will, basically saying if I don't come out of this, just know that I loved you, and like I just got everything I could in like a 2-minute little video or just in case something didn't happen.
Yeah.
What helped me a lot was I'm a visual person. So I was like printing all of these pictures of things that maybe I can do one day, like future non scale victories. So by the morning of surgery, I was slightly excited, but I was like, I just need to get through the surgery first. I was like, that was my biggest concern. I was like, just let me wake up and then all will be okay. And then we'll just figure out the rest later.
Yeah.
So when you had the surgery, which was in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
did you have any complications with it? Did you have any issues in the beginning?
I had no issues whatsoever in the beginning. The beginning was fine. The only issue I had was obsessively stepping on that scale.
Like every
Obsessive,
day?
obsessive, like 3 times a day.
No way.
And the first 2 weeks of my surgery, didn't lose a single pound.
Really?
I was so frustrated. And then when I went for my checkup at the surgeon, I kept, talking. I'm not losing any weight. It's not working. Surgery didn't work. That's it. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. It's not working. And he sat me down and he said, throw that damn scale away. Throw it away. And I did. And he said, only weigh in at your checkups. And that's it. Only at the doctor and your checkups. And that's what I did. And the weight started coming off.
So, I'm actually really surprised by that. So in the first 2 weeks, you didn't lose anything.
Nothing.
And I'm so glad you brought this up because I haven't talked to too many people who've had that situation. But recently, I was talking to a woman who had the same feeling that it was like the first month and she had lost next to nothing, or 2 weeks had gone by and she didn't lose anything. and she kept thinking she was doing something wrong. I did tell her the same thing. Don't look at the scale right now. That was one thing that was so detrimental to the downfall with all the other things that I had done, in the past, was we look at the scale. When it doesn't move, we feel bad about ourselves. And it's like, well, Smurf it, who cares? Let's go have a cupcake or something.
Yep.
So this time, because I truly felt this was my last and only option, I had prepared myself. I need to do it differently. So the day before surgery, I think I weighed myself and I took measurements. And then I only weighed myself once a week, same day, same time. I think it was like every Friday. And then I took measurements every month. Because when you're not looking at the scale every day, you're not fixated on it. It's not going to be there to deter you if it doesn't move. So I would focus on the water and the protein and the walking and all these things. So I'm really glad that you threw out the scale. And I almost wonder if, like, psychologically, maybe it was messing with you, and maybe like the stress that it was causing was almost preventing the weight from coming off too.
Could have been.
Maybe.
And then a year later, I had to have gallbladder surgery. And that's common with weight loss surgery, that you lose a bunch of weight super fast and your gallbladder screams at you and doesn't function anymore.
Yeah, and I remember having what I now know was a gallbladder attack. I had never experienced that kind of pain before. I did know at the time, I think it was almost, or it might have been right before COVID, like 6 months before COVID. But I noticed when I was looking at my diet, there was a lot of foods I was becoming more lax with, the fried foods and greasy foods. And I am a sucker for cheese. I probably bring up cheese in every episode, I'm now realizing, but I love cheese. And I was told that I was probably going to have surgery. And this was like a holiday weekend or something like that, so I wouldn't have been able to do it. But I literally cut everything out overnight. I started eating like yogurt, and I noticed it was almost like instant relief. And once in a blue moon, you kind of get like a little flare up. And I'm mentally prepared that the day might come where I just might have to get it removed.
Yeah.
But curious to know, because I know it is so common, compared to the bariatric surgery, was the recovery from the gallbladder easier or better or worse?
I want to say worse.
Really?
I think so. I can't really remember. Honestly, I can't really remember. All I remember is the pain from the gallbladder, and it was right around Christmas time when I started having the flare-ups. And I had surgery literally December 31st. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you entered the new year a bariatric patient?
The gallbladder surgery.
Oh, sorry. You left the year with the gallbladder and you entered the new year with that one.
Yes.
Oh, that sucks. I have heard people compare it, saying that the gallbladder surgery is worse. So if people had already had their gallbladders out, then having the gastric sleeve will be a lot easier. I don't know why that is. So obviously when you have the surgery, there's a lot of things you're not allowed to have for a long time. I don't know about you. I was told no caffeine for 2 to 3 months, no alcohol for 2 to 3 months, no fried foods for as long as you can, not have them. At what point were you one of those people that wasn't worried about having those things, or were you like,
absolutely not? I was constantly on the surgeon and the nutritionist. When can I have coffee? When can I have coffee? When can I have alcohol? When can I have solid foods? When can I have chicken? Everything, as soon as I could have it,
you were indulgent?
I was having it because I felt so deprived from not having it.
Which is all mental, which is why, and we'll get into the importance of mental health and the triggers before, in a bit. And so when you had that coffee for the first time, or you had that sip of alcohol for the first time, was it like this euphoric feeling? Did you get sick instantly afterwards? Like, how did you feel?
I did not. I loved the coffee. I loved that first bite of rice that I could have. The first drink I had, that was scary because I mean it was like instant drunk with very very little alcohol, but then like the drunkenness immediately went away, like within minutes. Within minutes. And it was so trippy. It was so trippy because I mean, you would think that, you know, you're tipsy, you're going to be tipsy for a while, you know. But that wasn't the case. It was like instantly gone. Instantly gone. So, I mean, like eventually, I mean, I could drink 3 bottles of wine in one night and not even be drunk.
Post-op.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad that you said that too, because had I not witnessed it with my own eyes, I would think that people are crazy when they have that kind of reaction to having alcohol in the beginning. I watched a friend of mine. I never had the surgery up until that point, or I thought about it. And she had a shot of, I don't remember, like vodka or something like that. I watched her go from 0 to belligerent literally in less than 10 minutes. It was the craziest thing. And I was like, oh, wow. Well, you know, her stomach's smaller. Like, I get it. And just as quickly as it hit her, and you're belligerent and you're incoherent and she's like slurring, it was like nothing ever happened. Yep. And I, like I said, had I not witnessed it firsthand, I would think that people were crazy. But I watched that happen with her, and I'm like, maybe it's because the stomach is so small and it gets processed so much quicker than other things. But I can see, number one, for me, it was just fascinating to witness. I don't wish that on anybody, obviously. But I can see how scary that can be, because usually, I don't know about you, but usually if you drink too much and then you have the room spinning and then you throw up and then you swear, I'm never going to drink again, and you have that regret. But if it comes and goes out of your body and there's no of the aftermath that you're used to, I can see how somebody might be doing that more often.
Right.
And so,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what the beginning part was like when you first started, you know, having alcohol again?
Okay. Well, that's the rough part of having this surgery is the transferred addiction, and it doesn't get talked about. I'm even in the rooms, you know, the support groups at the surgeon and the nutritionist. I was hushed when I started bringing it up.
Really?
I was like, oh yeah, they didn't want all these new patients knowing about that. No. Yeah, it was, they didn't say it directly, but the leaders of the support group kind of just wanted it pushed aside. They didn't want to talk about it. And if I had known beforehand, like I did a lot of research, and there was nothing in my research that had anything to do with transferred addictions.
No.
Nothing. I mean, and it's not just alcohol, the transferred addictions. There's shopaholics. There's, you know, sex addicts. There's drugs. There's prescription drugs. There's gambling. There's, you know, shopping. I mean, any addiction. We're trading our food addiction for another addiction because we can no longer, you know, we can no longer stuff our stomachs with food. So what are we going to do? Because here is still here. Our addiction is still here. And, you know, my addiction went from food to booze.
And how quickly did it start turning into like an actual addiction?
Oh, instantly.
Really?
Instantly. But the amount of alcohol increased.
Progressively got worse.
Oh yeah. To the point where the day I finally got help, I was probably drinking a gallon of vodka a day. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm just like,
Just constant drinking. Constant, because I couldn't get drunk.
wow.
It was pretty crazy.
Now, were you much of a drinker before the surgery?
Well, yes. Um, I grew up in bars. I was a little girl and my mom owned bars and she was a bartender, and I grew up in bars. Drinking was okay. It was what you did. I mean, it was just part of life.
But was it more like drinking, like just always being social, or were you always drinking to excess when you would drink?
No, it was always social. It was always
Okay.
social. And when I was a teenager, when you're a teenager, you party and you have fun, and I outdrank the boys, but my drink of choice was beer. And as soon as I had the surgery, I couldn't have it anymore.
Oh, because the
And
carbonation.
and I had no problems with that. Like, if I'm told you can't have this, I won't have it. But as soon as that surgeon said, "Okay, you can have it now." Hey, I can have it. So
And
it was tough.
and then how long did it take, from I mean, obviously you're not going to a gallon, in a day, like right off the bat. You're probably starting off thinking with a shot. Like how much time did it take for you to kind of progressively get worse to the point where you decided enough was enough?
It was about 2 years.
Okay.
It was about 2 years. I'm 2.5 years sober. My sober date is October 31st, 2019.
Kudos to you first and foremost. That is unbelievably amazing.
2019? Yeah, 2019, because it was before COVID. It was right before COVID when I decided to get sober. And if I hadn't have become sober and COVID happened, I'd probably be dead right now.
It'd be a completely different story, because how many people did we see firsthand that started turning to alcohol or drugs or vices because of the pandemic, and depression went through the roof during that time. So
Right.
thank God that you did make a change. And then, so when you're in the middle of this, at what point do you start to recognize that there's like, when you were drinking, was it more to escape something, or is it because
Oh,
you just like the taste, or what was going through
I
your mind?
was not feeling my feelings. Everything, all the stresses in life, all my past hurts, all my, marriage problems, my kids' teenage problems, my son's mental health, my mental health. I mean, it's just a whole basket of hurts and mental anguish and me not wanting to feel my feelings.
And then I'm curious, I've had a lot of alcoholics in my life before. When you're drinking, is it that you get some kind of an instant relief, emotional relief, or is it that you just drink to the point where you just don't care about consequence, or you just don't care about anything?
I don't care about anything.
Really?
I don't have to, because the booze takes over. I say that I didn't get drunk, but I was getting drunk towards the end.
Yeah.
I was definitely getting drunk and not remembering anything, or the fights or the arguments, and it wasn't until my husband, kept, babe, you need to stop drinking. You need to stop drinking. And it wasn't until then where I was like, okay, yeah, I got to do something. I got to do something. But I didn't really have any, I don't want to say reason to stop, because he's a good reason and my family's a good reason and my health's a good reason, but I didn't really have any motivation to stop. I didn't
In
care.
that mindset, you didn't have a reason.
Mm-mm.
And
So,
then
yeah.
with your husband, like, was he vocal about it throughout, or was he kind of like, just because we've had this conversation in the past with people, like especially when your partner is gaining all of this weight over time. And how do you have a conversation with your partner like, "Hey babe, you're getting kind of fat?" With how do you have this conversation without being an asshole or making the situation worse?
Well, here's the thing. I've been with my husband since I was 14 years old. I met him my freshman year of high school. I've been with him my whole entire life. He
So he
knows
knows.
me inside and out. He
Yeah.
knows my past. He knows my secrets. He knows everything about me. He knows me better than I know myself. So when, when he says that's enough, that's enough. And I didn't listen. And eventually he left. He gave me an ultimatum. He said it's either booze or me, and I said, "See ya, fucker." And that was just my mentality.
Yeah, you just don't. You're already in a downward spiral. You just don't care.
Yeah, and it was about 2 weeks after he left me. I was sitting in my living room, and I had a gallon of vodka, a bottle of Xanax, and I was writing my suicide note. And oh, it was tough. It was tough, and I don't know. I called out to God, and that night it was it was Halloween, and I called my daughter and asked her if she could come to my house and take care of my dogs. So I checked myself into rehab that night, and I went to a local hospital. It was a mental health hospital, but they also did
Like detox or
detox, a medical detox, because I've tried to quit before, and I mean, my body was so used to all the alcohol. After like 24 hours, I would start seizing.
really.
Yeah, yeah, and the job that I have, I mean, I can't have I can't go to the hospital. I can't have seizures on my job title. I can't.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, I checked myself into the hospital on October 31st, and I'm 2.5 years clean. And as soon as I got out, I let the nurse know that I was terrified because I was going home to just myself again. And she basically said, I need some sort of support because I don't have any support. So I looked into AA, and I wasn't comfortable with AA. I just wasn't, because there was both men and women. There wasn't like all women groups. And then the nurse told me about Celebrate Recovery, which is a nationwide recovery program. And it's not just drugs and alcohol. They work on mental health, sexual issues, mental issues. They work on codependency, eating issues. I mean, every imaginable issue Celebrate Recovery works with. So I went to a Celebrate Recovery meeting, and I haven't stopped. And I think that that contributed a lot to me staying sober. And especially during COVID, we did Zoom meetings, and without those, I don't think that I would have survived.
That's
Honestly.
incredible. Will you send me the information for Celebrate Recovery? Because I would love to put that, on the page for people who are looking for help, and like it's a good resource for them to have. So, no, I don't want to keep like dredging up memories or anything like that, but it's Halloween night. You're at the lowest point imaginable. You have a bottle of pills, you have all of his booze, you talk to God. But what was like the defining moment to just make the conscious decision, I'm not going to take these pills tonight. Like I can't do this.
I didn't want my daughter to find me.
Yeah. Did you tell
I
her that
didn't
you
let
were
that
going?
happen.
No. Ugh.
And I didn't want I didn't want my dogs to die either, because there was nobody that would take care of them.
Yeah.
I was just by myself.
Did you tell anybody that you were checking in, or you just got in the car and just drove
I
over there?
actually told my mom and my brother that live in Indiana. I told them that I was checking in and that I wouldn't have access to the internet or my phone. And I had to tell my boss. I'm a real estate agent and a school bus driver. So I got my doctor to write me a note, just a plain note saying that I was under his care, not that I was in rehab or whatever.
Right.
And and I got my boss at the realty to take over my two clients that I had. I had two escrows going, so I had to be honest with him, and he was thankful that I was honest with him and that he took care of the clients for me until
Yeah.
I came out. But man, just being honest with everybody sucked.
What? So hard. It sucks so hard. Now,
But
I feel like we're always worried about how people are going to judge us, but I feel like there's no judgment that somebody can give us that's going to be worse than how we've judged ourselves, or the lowest opinion that we get of ourselves like is not going to be matched by somebody else. But having to expose that the facade you've created is not true, it's fucking hard, man.
it is. It is.
And
But
wait, and how long were you in the facility for?
7 days.
Oh, just 7 days.
7 days, and my insurance completely covered it. And I went in, and I mean, it was quite humiliating. I drove myself there. I checked myself in. I called ahead of time and asked if I was going to be able to get a room. And by the grace of God, they had a room available. But when I went in, they did a whole interview process, and I had to go in a room and I had to strip down. And the only thing I brought was clothes, my Bible that I've never read in my whole entire life, um, and a notebook, some things to color, and that was it. And I went in and I had to go in this room. I had to strip down completely naked. I had two women searching me.
Is it because they're searching for like contrabands or like drugs or
They're
something?
making sure that I didn't have anything on me that I could hurt myself with.
Got it. Okay.
So they took my Bible and they said I couldn't have it because there was ribbons inside the Bible and I could hurt myself with the ribbons. And I was like, cut the freaking things out. I
Yeah.
don't care. Like, really? So yeah, that was a little humiliating. And a lot of things I stayed in my room most of the time, but a lot of things happened because it was a mental facility. There was like one half that was alcoholics and drug addicts, and they were detoxing, but the other half of the wing was all mental patients with different ailments, and there was a lot of scary shit going on in there. Like it was a nut house. Like literally, it was hard. But
I can't even imagine what goes through your head, because you obviously turned to alcohol to deal with stress. Then you voluntarily chose to go to this place, obviously to get clean, but now you are blindsided with all of these added stressors. I'm sure that there was people yelling or issues, or all of these other things. And now you're facing this head on without alcohol in your system.
That, no phone, no internet, no contact to the outside world at all. It was hard.
I can't even. What was your motivation though to get through the week? Like, what was going through your head, or what were you thinking about while you were there?
I knew that I had to do it because I couldn't do it on my own. I had to get medical help because I didn't want to seize out and die. I
Right.
had to do it medically.
You had to know that there was somebody there in the event that had the tools to
Yeah,
bring
and
you.
they had the medication, and they monitored me. They took my vitals like every so often, and I slept a lot. I slept a lot. And I remember, like, I would look out the window. There's like a beautiful mountainside next to the facility, and I would look out the window, and there would be like this herd of deers that would walk by the window every morning and every evening. Like they lived on the hillside, and it was just so freaking beautiful. And I don't know, it got me through the day, I guess, knowing that they'd be there that night, you know.
Now, obviously, like when we have the surgery, we just know that we can't have certain things because we were told that, or like even if we tried alcohol 2 days after having surgery, we're gonna have a violent reaction. So we knew that we couldn't have that. But now here you are, you're leaving the facility. How do you get yourself in the right mindset to not immediately transfer it either to something else, or have that because you don't have the doctors with you to just go and have a relapse? What made it different this time around?
um, I wanted my husband back. I wanted my family back. I wanted to be a better mom. I mean, my kids are adults, and, you know, I wasn't the best mom, but I wanted to be a better mom. Immediately, when I got out, I went straight to a massage parlor, and I got an hour massage. And then I went home and looked up Celebrate Recovery meetings, and there's literally a Celebrate Recovery meeting every single day of the week in my county in different areas. And I just went to meetings. I met women, and I liked it because it was all, they have women and then they have the men's groups. And I do better with just women. Even though, like, growing up, like, I didn't get along with women, like,
Right.
because just past hurts from my sister, and I never trusted women
Yeah.
until, 2.5 years ago. I didn't trust women. I didn't like women. I had all male friends, and
It's so funny that you say that because I tell people who know me, I was a tomboy growing up. One of the reasons because there wasn't girls in my neighborhood. I was the only girl. I was the only girl in the on the baseball league. I was just around dudes my whole life, so I never talked makeup and boys and dresses and frills. It was baseball hats and jeans. And I feel like there is a disconnect when you get to an age and you start to have female friends. I couldn't connect on the same level as them because I had more of this tomboy mentality that I felt that women were either intimidated by that because I knew how to get along with, I could speak their language. It was
yeah,
like because I was one of them. So it was so natural for me to, even though none of them wanted to date me because I was fat, but I could relate to them in a way that most other girls didn't. So I think that usually caused like a rift or like a jealousy or an insecurity, or I just came off as intimidating. So I never thought I'd ever be in a place where I'd have female friends until I got older. And then it was just like a totally different ball game.
right. Well,
I,
we know a lot more.
I mean,
You
like we
know, You grow up, you get wiser.
A little bit, yeah. So, so, so here's the thing, though. So now you've overcome this food thing because you can't physically. I mean, I guess you can overindulge in food, and then you're going to have, usually a violent reaction. But now you can't turn to food
Well,
the
here's
way
the thing. I did.
wait, after the alcohol,
After the alcohol.
you
I
went back to food.
I transferred back to sugar.
Mm.
Sugar. And it's so funny because before I wasn't a sugar person. I was a mashed potato and gravy, biscuits,
Yeah.
cheese, you name it. I mean, if it was savory, oof, it was mine. I didn't like sugary sweets. But after quitting alcohol, absolutely. Absolutely. I went straight to sugar. And I mean, I was waking up in the middle of the night and sneaking it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I can
And
totally.
I struggle with it today. I'm up 30 pounds and I'm still struggling with food addiction. But
Is
I
it strong?
much rather have food addiction than alcohol addiction.
True. So do you? And that's hard because we don't want to keep transferring it from one thing to the next and back.
Well, and then I'm dealing with it mentally. Like I'm doing, step studies. I'm doing, I have accountability partners. I've got, a sponsor and I'm dealing with my issues for sure. And I'm getting through the mental part and figuring out why I am like I am, why I have these addictions, and eliminating the triggers before they even happen.
Okay, because that was gonna be my question is once you walk out of a rehab or once you have this surgery, it's not like you're just never gonna be stressed again. Like the triggers are gonna happen immediately. We talk about it all the time. COVID is a perfect example of the rug can be pulled out from underneath you at any given moment, regardless of what your background or situation is. So first and foremost, I'm so glad that you are actively getting help. You might not be where you want to be yet, but you're a lot better off now than where you were 6 months ago, 2.5 years ago. So those triggers still exist today. Those emotional stressors still exist today. So what are some things that you do now that's different to kind of help get over the initial cravings?
Well, I meditate daily. Every single morning, right when I wake up, I head straight to my recliner and I do 15 minutes of meditation. I have my daily time with God and praying, and I have accountability partners that if I feel like I'm going to lose control, I can easily text them or call them and they're right there saying, "Don't do it." Put the sugar down.
Back away slowly.
Yeah. And the good thing about Celebrate Recovery too is, I mean, all the women, they have different issues. Like some of us are alcoholics, some of us are sugaraholics, some of us are, some of us are workaholics, some of us are gamblers, some of, and but every single one of us have the same thing in common. We all have our addictions and we all need to get through them. And just having the support is so much, because when you don't have anything, I mean, you just don't care about yourself, or and we're our own worst critics, and I treat myself the worst.
I do too.
Like the worst. But you know what? Give me somebody else and I'll give them the shirt off my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell them, God, you're beautiful. Why are you thinking like that? and I just don't, I got to get through that. And I got to talk to myself like that. I got to care about myself like I care about these other people.
Why are we constantly not giving ourselves the same pep talk that we would give somebody else? And I always say, like, yeah, I know I need to take my own advice, but and like even in saying that, you're kind of like brushing, like, yeah, I know I shouldn't do that either. But I feel like, and I'm finding that it's a huge similarity with a lot of people who suffer from obesity. We're people pleasers. For whatever reason, for so many years, we didn't see any value in ourselves, that we had to give ourselves to everyone else in order to gain acceptance or love or some kind of attention. And we just kept self-deprecating for so many years in the effort to help somebody else. I don't understand. I understand the psychology as to why we do it. I just wish that more people can realize early on that there's value.
Right. So
You
they don't
matter.
have to go through a lifetime of what we went through.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the whole meaning of what you're doing too. If you could just help one single person get through it, and let them know that, you can get through it.
Yeah.
It will be okay. It's still work. You still have to work. This surgery, I can eat a lot of slider foods.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I can eat big portions. And you still, it's just a tool. It's just a tool, and you got to work your tool.
And
And
just
if you don't work it, it's not going to work.
right. And that's why I'm so glad that I wanted to put this show together, and not just talk, like, yes, the NSVs are amazing, and yes, there's a lot of good stuff that happens, but there's a lot of dark shit that comes along with it. The whole reason that people end up dealing with obesity is because of issues never resolved, that you're finding a cover up to like hide these emotions, whether it's you're literally carrying the weight of the world because you're not talking about how you're feeling, or you're constantly hiding behind something. If we're not dealing with these issues, you're going to transfer to something else. Yes, I'm a notorious nail biter. I bit my nails since I was a little child. I don't know why I do it. The minute I finally put acrylics on, it stopped overnight. But I found myself chewing on a straw, or I found myself, eating more snacks or doing something else. I did not bite my nails for like 2 years. And it wasn't until about 6 months ago, I was having trouble typing, and I was like, I wanted my nails to have a break. So I took the nails off. I haven't bitten my nails in 2 years. Within a week, they were down to the nubs again. Like no time and I'm like, I had found other ways to deal with stress. Why am I biting my nails all of a sudden? Because again, whatever the root was that created this emotional response to this activity of doing something, whether it's the nail biting or smoking or drinking, because the issue has never been recognized, acknowledged, and resolved, you're going to keep having the same issue again. And the
Right.
same thing goes with people who've had this surgery. You use food as a coping mechanism. So you take the food away. It's so common, more common than I realized, that we're transferring it to something else. And like you said, if somebody watching this show today hears your story and be like, F man, like Marcie overcame, like that was some dark shit. And she overcame that. Then if the minute that you give somebody a glimmer of hope and let them take that and run with it, then this whole entire show is worth it, because one person was able to change their attitude and do something about it. Now it's been, you said 2019, so it's been about 2.5 years sober.
Yeah.
How have your relationships changed since?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, my daughter, she actually said that what did she say? I remember it made me cry. she said that she's something to the effect where she's just getting to know me, and that I'm a whole new person, and that just basically she was happy with the person that I have become, and that she's just getting to know the new mom, and she likes me. and I had an estranged relationship with my son. He had a lot of mental issues when he was a teenager, and I didn't deal with it so well, and neither did he. But we started communicating again, and I've seen him twice now. Um, my relationship with my husband has done a complete turnaround.
So you've reconciled.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually asked him to go to a Celebrate Recovery meeting with me like 3 weeks after, and he went with me. And then a couple weeks after that, he moved back in. So, and then we started doing counseling, and that's another thing. Counseling and therapy is so important. So important. And if not counseling and therapy, have someone accountable that you can talk to and get stuff out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I absolutely love that. I can, like, we're almost out of time, and if we go over a couple of minutes, I don't even smurf and care, because like I said, your journey is so inspiring to people who, I've been very vocal about stuff in my past, and I've had those moments where you're faced with the decision, do I want to wake up tomorrow? And there's no lower feeling than thinking that you have nobody in your corner and that there's no reason to continue on, and making this single decision that it's worth at least fighting for, or at least trying. And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to have you share your story, is because so many people can now relate to that. And I'm glad that we can give them a chance to say there's still hope. You might not have the same exact outcomes as Marcie, but you can be a hell of a lot better today than you were yesterday. But with all that being said, I know that it was a very heavy episode today, but it was an important episode to have, because, like we both mentioned today, this is not being talked about on a regular basis. We are not talking about mental health when it comes to the bariatric community. We are not talking about emotional eating. We are not talking about the downsides of not dealing with your issues. It makes me really smurf and angry that your own support group was shushing you at the thought of even talking about it, because it would deter somebody else. What you're doing is you're not giving that person a fair chance in their own journey. We need to talk about, this is a potential. Is it going to happen to everybody? No. Is everybody going to turn into a shopaholic or an alcoholic or a drug addict or a sex? No. But there is a possibility that you're going to have other issues resulting from the surgery, because of issues that you've never acknowledged or dealt with or brought to light. But I do want to end on a really positive, well, this whole entire story has been positive, but I did not learn this until late last night. But Marcie has this amazing non-scale victory NSV that she's accomplished, two of them actually. Tell me about this hike that you did.
Okay, so during COVID, I decided to take a month off of work, and my husband took a month off of work, and we decided to hike the John Muir Trail. We hiked 222 miles in 27 days. And I climbed to the top of Mount Whitney, which was 14,800 feet.
Oh my God, you're making my hair stand up.
It was so awesome. It was so beautiful and so tranquil and amazing. And it was kind of like I don't know. It was just like a spiritual journey. It was amazing.
I think it was like the perfect way to encompass your entire journey by going through the trenches, going through this uphill battle, and getting to the top. What did it feel like getting to the top of that?
Oh my God. I completely cried. And my husband, we were supposed to renew our wedding vows, and but my daughter got married, so all our money went towards her wedding. So we brought a veil and a bow tie, and we did a little ceremony on the top of Mount Whitney, and we've got pictures and stuff, and it was really, really cool. It was really cool.
Oh my god, I am such a visual person. I'm such a like that is like the perfect reflection of, like I said, not just the journey of yourself, but the
Kind of
journey.
like a rebirth, like a
Yes.
it, the new me.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, if you can climb a freaking mountain, you can literally conquer anything. If you can if you can look at a pill bottle and make the decision, no, I am above this, and you can overcome that, there's literally nothing you can't overcome at that point. I can't imagine. I'm not a runner. I am terrified of heights, so I'm not much of a hiker unless it's flat lands and no place that I can plummet to. But I can't even fathom the thrill and the excitement. Am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? The mentality that you have to put yourself into with each step as it gets tougher and tougher to get to the top. And this just complete like explosion of feelings and emotions when you make it to the other side.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. I need to get over my fear of heights because I that is just so unbelievable. It's a perfect and your NSV alone is such a perfect metaphor for your entire journey and how you've gotten to this point now, and the fact that this is not an easy story to tell. This is not an easy story to share. Granted, it's just you and me right now. Don't pay
Yeah.
attention to anybody else out there. But when you can be vulnerable with yourself and own up to the fact that I was not perfect. I'm still not perfect. But every day I am making an attempt to be a little better than I was yesterday. And oh man, and like I feel like I'm so upset because like we're practically already out of time, but I do want to give you the floor if there's anything that you want to add to this, if there's any advice you want to give to people, or it's yours.
Definitely prepare yourself mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not a quick fix. You have to still work at it. Yeah, the weight will come off. It'll come off. It'll come off. But there's a point where it stops coming off, and you have to work at it. You have to find why you overate in the first place. You have to get through your problems, because if you don't get through your problems, they will come back. And it's not a quick fix. It's only a tool.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And make sure if there's things that we can do on our own to try to get into a better mind space, talking to friends, googling things, finding support groups. But if you're not getting the results that you want, there is nothing wrong with reaching out to a professional whose sole job is trained to get you to the other side of this issue that you're facing. There is nothing wrong with seeking help. There's so many resources out there. Marcie's going to send me the information for Celebrate Recovery. So if there's anybody out there who wants another resource to be able to tap into or seek help, we encourage you to do that. And on that note, like Marcie, thank you so much for being here today. You've been an absolute delight. I hope that you're going to come back because
Oh, yeah.
I make notes all the time. I have all of these handwritten notes, and we usually get through to about half of them, and we don't ever finish. So I'm going to have you back on as long as you're okay with it. And I want to check in and see how you're doing.
For sure.
Sounds good. Well, all of you guys watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for spreading the word. And we will see you on Friday. We have a special guest with Bobby who's going to be telling us about his weight loss journey. So we're really excited. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Peace.